reminding ourselves what we've been through the last 2 years. There's no doubt that where we are today is based upon a very thorough and a very ambitious design brief, evaluation about the city, and so on. So I would say the outcome, or you can say the design response, what we are showing here today is a thorough response to an architectural response to a great ambition and how to transform a mobility hub into the future. We are extremely proud, we are extremely privileged, and it's with great honor that we now are going to take this collaboration and working in Prague. It's a very, as an architect, it's a city that is very, very proud. It's very, very authentic, and it's very true to itself. It's full of craftsmanship, skills, and expertise and knowledge. So on that legacy, that is what we're carefully trying to extend into the future with our Scandinavian mindset, I would say. And this can only happen through a dialogue. There's been a dialogue already the last 2 years or so, but the dialogue, of course, that continues. We're just getting started. And when we look at the city, and we look at the station, when you look at real projects that makes an impact, they're the projects that think beyond the boundaries, beyond their doormat, that start to think about the wider neighborhood, the people who are walking on a daily basis, the people who have come there for the first time. What is the first impression that we like to give the visitors? Why would we like them to come back? What makes us proud? And so on. So we actually, of course, we're designing and expanding the station, but it's for the people. It's for us that we're designing it, or it's for you. Change is not always easy. We know that ourselves, but once the change has come, we think about why didn't we do that before or earlier. It's of course not a one-man band. There's a huge team behind this project, not only within Henning Larsen, but also with Rampel in terms of structure, transportation, and so on. But also huge thanks to our local collaborators from A8000. Without this would not have been possible. Combining global expertise with local knowledge, that's a really, really strong collaboration, I would say. It's much more than a station. There's no doubt about that. Of course, we would like to bring, you can say, the future mobility in the heart of things. We want to get out of the cars, use public transportation, connect Prague to the wider Europe and even beyond. But in the daily life, a station is much more than that. It's also about creating memories, lifetime memories, when we're saying goodbye to a family member that is leaving us or one that is coming back. So understanding what a station is, it really consists of a lot of elements that is related to a city in itself. It's about creating a destination, a gateway. It's about thinking about how can we optimize mobility so it looks into the future. But it's also about creating meeting places, indoor, outdoor, celebrating the seasons as we know it. This is what we're trying to unify, all these ambitions under one big roof that carefully celebrates 2 decades or 2 architectural strong periods by the Art Nouveau or the Brutalism periods. But actually we want to bring it out to the daylight. We want to connect it, reconnect the mobility, reconnect the station to the city. And as such, we want to celebrate the eras and also extend beyond the doormat so it becomes a greater part of the city, a larger integration, no matter whether you are commuting or you simply, it's just because it's the best place to meet in the city. So we're proposing a very lightweight structure that opens up indoor, outdoor, and connects at all levels throughout. It's about visibility, mentally, but also physically. So when we talk about these ambitions before, it is about celebrating the praise through the seasons. It's about creating landscape, hardscape, softscape, for recreation, for activation, and so on. It is about creating a memorable space, no matter whether you're outdoor or you're indoor, but also integrating future mobility with the trams, bicycles, buses, metros, and trains, and so on, so it is really becoming a true meeting place. And with this, I would like to hand over to you, Greta.
Thank you. This is the station area as we see it today. We see a huge potential in it, which also means that we see some issues. Some people before today already explained some of the issues. We have really analyzed the place in the first stage of the competition, and we could see a lot of borders between the park, the terminal hall, and the existing historic Fanta station. These borders we are aiming to break down and reconnect the station area with its city, with Prague. We see this and we call this a mobility park of the future, which is not only about running through, but also a place we want to stay. This area station has been a fortification area before. It has been the green belt with a fortification around the historic city center of Prague. This area transformed into the station area, first with the Franz Josef station, which was located directly here on the historic city edge. It was back then actually connected, it was back then connected with the park, which was a really pleasant space. It was a space for leisure, for recreational purpose. It was the place where you went with your family and strolled around, had an ice cream, and enjoyed that park. Also, the Franz Josef station and the new Fanta station later were actually really active buildings. It was a smaller road back then, and you parked here, you could go in and out, and had a really active, lively frontage. It was part of Prague. It was part of the everyday life. Also here we can see already the fantastic trees which arrived from that time. The area got transformed, as we heard, many times, and the last larger transformation came by establishing the Magistrala. The Magistrala is probably why we have a lot of the issues which we're facing today. It was really disconnecting the station area from its surrounding. Also with the extension of the terminal hall, we can see that these borders kind of created an even bigger disconnection to its city and to its environment. Looking at the terminal hall, we can also see all the craftsmanship in there. And we love and we are inspired by this fantastic detailing and choice of materials, particular design from that time. So what's next? We try to focus on the bigger lines first, which are really about connecting the main train station with the historic city center. The other direction from the north-south is not least important, and we worked a lot with connecting the Meswerk station together with the entire cultural area. So these were kind of the parameters we drawn up first. When you look at this drawing from today's station, you can see that you have the Fanta building with the trains, you have the bus stations, you have the metro station in the underground, and the future tram station really disconnected from each other. We are working with preserving, we are working with extending some of the existing, and we are working with adding a new collective roof. And this allows us to actually span out and reach out, connect all the different modes of mobility, the tram station, the metro station, the bus and kiss and ride, and even the connectivity to the trains under one collective roof. From the beginning, our vision has been to create a holistic vision here, to not think about landscape, architecture, and urbanism as three different silos, but think about the people which flow through the nature and the station as one project. We focused from the beginning on 3 strategies, which we refined throughout the process. We thought to create this mobility park of the future, we need to develop a strategy which takes care of safety. It's important to create a safe space where the people in their everyday life feel safe, but where also transportation can work in a safe manner. We worked with mobility, not only about seamless mobility, but also with future mobility, focusing on enhancing sustainable modes of traffic. We also worked with last mile connectivity, and my colleagues will tell much more about this in detail later. Heritage, we had a really, really clear vision to preserve as much as we can as the first thing. The next step is to extend what we have and actually draw from the qualities which are there. And then last but not least, we are adding a new layer on top, a layer which is of course designed according to future needs, and we're trying to reduce as much carbon as we can here on site. From invisible places to an inviting gateway of Prague. From disorientation and really an introvert feeling to overviewable and intuitive wayfinding. From closed edge zones, as for example here, the Balan NOA Garage, which is actually lying underneath the Magistrala, and not a lot of people know about it. It's empty since many years. To vibrant and active cityscapes, which create a safety feeling, but also give a liveliness and influence the park in a very positive way. From obstacles and borders like bushes, to seamless flow and overviewable wayfinding. From a disconnected park to an inviting arrival square and of course destination. From an introvert station, as we found it from the beginning, to something which opens up to its city in a very generous way and welcomes the citizens of Prague, not only in their everyday life, but also when they go out on larger journeys to Hamburg, to Munich, and so forth. I will actually give the word now to our landscape architect daughter, who will present the landscape part, and after that, Mikkel will go more in detail on the architecture. Thank you.
Thank you. As Greta said, it's looking back in history. The park used to be a super popular and loved park where people of Prague would come to have a stroll, to meet with your family, to have an ice cream, to feed the dogs in the big pond in front of the station. It was also where the first trees were planted that we still see in the park today. And also we see a beautiful shaping of the park. And then with the train station and the terminal hall coming in, the park kind of like lost its meaning. It became a place you just like flow through really quickly. It's not a place you want to stay. As different problems appears, it got not so well maintained. It looks a bit sad. It's difficult to see other people. The visibility is kind of gone. And this is where it becomes the Sherwood Forest, as you call it. So what was important for us again was to connect. First, connect the Fanta building, the terminal hall and the city center, but also to connect all the way up to the Narodny Museum and to the Masaryk station. Next thing is to think about the park and the terminal hall as one thing, not as a station and a park, but actually integrate the station and the park together. So bring in the park to the station, but also bring the station out into the park. Because this is amazing, that you actually arrive in your city into a park. You don't see that many places, but here we have the possibility of doing something extraordinary. And then it's also about activating the park and bringing it back to Prague and really give the local people a feeling of a destination, a place you want to come and visit and hang out and be. So we divided it into 3 different zones. The active zone, which is more for the local people, the station plaza, which is this arrival place, and then the cultural zone linking up to the cultural institutions in the south. And here you see the new park. And for us, it was both about being inspired by the history, by the organic shapes, by the beautiful trees that were planted at that time. It was also about bringing back the water feature and place it on the arrival plaza. Then we were very inspired by the newly renovated park around the Narodny Museum, which is really beautifully done. So what we do is that we take this cobblestone peacock pavement and bring it all the way into our park. So we really connect these 2 parks to each other. We also bring the furniture, the way of planting into the park, so it becomes like a big green stripe in the city. And then, of course, we really love the elements of the terminal hall, the pavement, the curves, so many beautiful details that we wanted to bring it out into the plaza and celebrate it. So it's where you are meeting Prague and where you are invited to the city footstep and continuing your journey. And then the trees are very important for us. It's the character of the place. They have these beautiful pagoda trees. When renovating this park and bringing in the tram, we will have to take a lot of trees down, unfortunately. But we are replacing them with the same amount of trees. And again, keeping up this character of the park, because it is so beautiful. And then it's important for us to really clear the bushes and create visibility throughout the park, not only for the tram people, so they can see other people coming in the park and don't hit them, but it's also for you to see each other, because that makes a safe park and a safe space. And then we reintroduce another layer of vegetation, which is lower, and which really bring in the seasonal aspects of the year. And it's also how we use the plant beds for water treatment. In case of heavy rainburst, we can lead the water all the way into the plant beds and hold the water until there's room enough again in the sewer system. Bam, and now it stopped. There. So, here we see the park, the new pavement, the peacock cobblestone pavement, the new elements of vegetation, and how you can actually overview most of the park, and different activities are being spelled out, which I will walk you through in a moment. And then also keeping, of course, the monuments of the park, both the historical parts, but also the monuments that we see from the brutalist period, because they also hold a big history and a big sense of beauty. And then walking you through the park, I need a glass of water. Here you see the station plaza. Again, what you experience today coming out of the station is a little bit, you're getting disorientated. Where should I go? How do I proceed with my journey throughout Prague? And when you come to Oblatova Street, you meet a massive barrier of parked cars and a road. And then again, coming from this city and entering into the station, it's again really a barrier to go through. So we are opening up. We are taking away a lot of the car parks and allocating them, narrowing down the street, and really making sure that the pedestrians can come safely across Oblatova Street. And then making this arrival plaza where it's possible for you to wait for your family or for the train to come, park your bike, and really enjoy this beautiful big plaza. But also taking the striped pavement again all the way up to Vilsanova Street and connected to the Fanta building. And here you see the situation of coming from Vilsonova Street and arriving to the city, and it's actually possible right now to see where you are and where to go. The active part in the north is kind of like this local park. It's where you go on Sundays for the picnic. We are refurbishing the playground. There will be an area for dog walking. There will be a skate park. The Balan NOA Garage up here, what Greta told us about, is being activated again, so there will be shops and bicycles repairment. Yeah, and it's really a place to visit and enjoy and be active in most of the day. Yeah, and here you see the Balan NOA Garage, which is being transformed, and also making sure that the massive flow coming from the train station onto Masaryk station is provided and easy. Wrong way. And here again, the transformation. The utility lawn, which is there today, we are keeping it. It's a nice place to hang out. But there's also a lot of more activities going on in the park. And then last but not least, the cultural part, which is more like a regional area where all of Prague is invited in. It's an unprogrammed space, you could say, where everything can happen. We are placing a pavilion up here, so it's possible to have a concert and different activities. It could be a Christmas market, it could be a flea market, it could be a community dinner. Anything could happen here. And here we see the winter situation, where you put up the small Christmas shops. There's a bonfire and there's maybe music playing over here. So it's going to be this lively place that you can walk through and into the station. And here you see how the park is like continuing under the roof and celebrating the situation. And now I think Mikkel will continue.
Can you hear me? Yes, there we go. Of course, when we design such a big mobility park for the future, it's super important how we design for different modes of mobility. We like to work with these pyramids where we say we need most from the top, where it's widest, and least from the bottom. So of course, we've designed this with the pedestrians in mind as the first thing. So really making sure that there are the routes that are required through the park, but also inside the terminal, cleaning up the mess of the historical layers and making sure that there's enough room to have the flow of pedestrian coming through here. Then next is about enhancing the journey for bicycles. There's a bigger plan of transforming Prague into a more bicycle-friendly city. And we are tapping into the bicycle plan there and ensuring that it's easy to get access and get close to the station with your bike. And there's great opportunities for parking, both the long-term indoor bike parking, but also short-term close to the places where you arrive. Then we look at the public transportation, where, it was mentioned earlier, we are designing, of course, the tram will be easy accessible. It's under the roof. It's protected from the weather, and then you have the bus stations that can also drop off below the roof up on Magistrale. And then as well, we provide kiss and ride facilities for taxis, Ubers, and shared car systems. And then in the bottom, we have the private cars, where of course we still need to have cars going to the site, but it will really be minimized as much as possible. So we are cleaning up a lot of the parking, which is on the Oblatova Street, but ensuring that there's still enough parking for the residents that live there. And then we are working with the Balan NOA Garage as a parking facility that could be used in the future, but it could also be transformed over time to the retail that we just saw some images of, or for more like a mobility hub of the future where you have shared car systems and charging for electric vehicles and so on. So that was the mobility. Now we will go back and talk a little bit more about the architecture and the inspiration for the design. So of course, when we approached the site, we immediately saw a lot of qualities, and it was a combination of the existing terminal hall that has this fantastic design language with the iconic curved shapes, the stripes, and then of course also the Fanta building, which is a bit hidden today. But it also has a really beautiful, both in exterior but also interior, with the arches, the dome shapes, and also the wooden details there. And then of course the park, which has been mentioned several times already. So we started investigating and looking into the layers of time. What is there? What should we keep? And then we worked from there to define a heritage approach, which Grete already mentioned a little bit earlier, but where we try to really preserve as much as we can in the terminal, but still we need to do the move of reducing or removing the facade and the roof to allow people in and get the views. But besides that, we really want to preserve as much as this as we can. Then we repurpose and extend and even drag elements from the design into the park and into Magistrale. And then finally we add on the large generous roof. And here we see it a little bit more in detail. So we preserve a lot on the side wings of the existing terminal. We want to preserve all the fantastic glass domes. 2 of them are moving further out on the Plaza. The 2 on Magistrale are moving out on the further ends of the park, so they greet people when you arrive at the site, and 2 stay in place. And then, of course, there are elements here, which are these iconic round columns in the facade, which we also want to keep. Then inside, we need to clean up a little bit and make more room for the future passengers. So next step is then cleaning up the interior, making the retail a little bit smaller to ensure that we can have flow coming through here, extending the terminal to the sides and open up so people can flow through fluently from the sides as well. And then adding a new facade here, where today there's these iconic double columns, and we use that to create a new facade, so we still have a large heated interior area here. Then we extend also up on Magistrale. We provide the large stair there in the center, which is not only for flow, but it also becomes this iconic meeting space where everyone can sit and enjoy the views to the park, and it becomes a place where you can meet under the large skylight. And then, yeah, I should mention also the ledges that we design here on the sides, where people can sit and we can have a lot of activation around the retail of the station. So it's also a place you want to stay at and enjoy. And then lastly, the roof on top. So the elements that we've been looking at is, of course, the tiles, the stripes, but also the glass elements and the amazing facades and the use of metal, which is super iconic in the terminal from the 70s. And we take those elements and we use them when we design new elements. So if we do a bench or we do bicycle parking or water pond, it has the same shapes and the same materials as the existing terminal. And here you see how we add this new facade in between the double columns that will have a stainless steel finish in the future. And we imagine this facade would be amazing to have open a lot of the year when the weather allows for it, but it can also be closed in the winter and in the cold seasons as we are in now. And inside, we remove some of the additions from the 90s, and then we make smaller retail, and we really try to do everything in the original language, but also still providing plenty of seating areas and waiting areas for the passengers. So here you see the floor plans, where up on the Magistrale you see the kiss and ride that allows buses to come in below the roof. We have some retail pavilions up here that are going to have absolutely incredible views to the city and the park, and make sure that there's always active life up here 24/7. As we come down further in the station to level -1, it's really connected to the landscape here. This is where people are going to be flowing from the Balan NOA Garage and straight in to the middle level and can go straight over to the trains from there. You can also see how we are providing a lot of seating, both inside and outside in the retail units, where people can sit and wait while they enjoy a coffee or a snack or similar. Sorry. And then as we get to the lower floor, Here, because we were moving the ramps and so on, we can actually extend the retail to the sides, allowing for more retail. So this could be where you have your supermarket or your villa in the future. And then cleaning up again and making sure that there's room here for people to flow fluently through the station. And you have the tram platform integrated into that there. Yeah, so the flow has been a major focus here. You can see how now you can flow seamlessly through the station on these levels. And this is something we have worked intensively together with Ramble also to simulate how this actually works in the future, where we're expecting this at least doubling of capacity. The retail is also part of the activation strategy. So we have worked with like how can we integrate different types of retail into this. And as I mentioned earlier, we think the ledges or the side wings here where we have these outdoor terraces will be a great place to sit and enjoy a coffee or have restaurants in the future. As we come further into the middle level here, where you have the underpasses to the train stations and people really are flowing through, that's where you have your quick retail with shops and you can grab a coffee or a newspaper on the way to your train. And then on the lower level is really where we can have the larger convenience stores, supermarkets, shops, and etc. And then in the back there, we still gonna keep tickets, public services, and those types of functions. But it is really part of the safety strategy as well to make sure that everyone can see each other in this layout, and it's super transparent, so you don't ever feel like you're in a corner that doesn't feel safe, basically. We've also really tried to optimize the design as much as possible in terms of material use, energy, low carbon design, and so on. And again, we like to work with these triangles. So this is the design optimization triangle, where you have materials on one side and energy on the other. And in the bottom, it's all about reducing. You know, only expand where necessary, transform as much of the existing as you can, integrate a low emission mobility strategy, as I talked about, reducing the indoor areas, and of course there should be enough and sufficient indoor areas, but the less we can have, the less we need to heat, and it's good for the energy as well. And then the middle part is about optimizing. So we really try on the material side to use timber where possible, and of course it's both a choice because it matches the park, it matches the Fanta building, but it's also the sustainable choice as it is material for the future with a low carbon impact. And then on the energy side, it's about providing shade, optimizing for daylight, and then on top, on the pyramid, we have reduce, where we add photovoltaics to the roof, so we can also produce energy from this amazing new roof. So you see here how there is a facade there, and this of course will be outdoor, but still the roof helps to temper the space in the summer, so it's not going to be overheated, and it also shields from the wind in the winter, so it will be less cold here, and you will have some sun coming through than in other places of the exterior area. But then we have the facade there, and then we have waiting areas both here and on this floor as well. So going to the Balan NOA Garage, which was mentioned earlier, as I said, it could be used as a parking facility when there's a need for it, but then in the future, the lower floor could be transformed with the retail that could front the park. We provide also sort of a bike parking hub there with the repair shops and so on, and shared bike systems. And then in the future, the upper floor there could be this shared car mobility hub with charging stations and so on. So talking a little bit about the roof and the design of that, it has been a major focus, of course, because how do you design something that not only is unique and spectacular, but it also really talks to the history of the elements that we are surrounded by here. So it needs to talk to the Fanta building, the terminal, and the park at the same time. And you can say the approach was to be inspired by all three elements. So the brutalism, the curves, the striped paving, the Art Nouveau with the arches, the dome, and then the tree crowns of the park. And sort of fusioning all of that into one design language, we made the roof as it looks here. And you see here how it looks in different situations and in different areas of the station. We believe we have achieved something here that, especially when you look with the heritage terminal here below, it talks in the same language with the curves and with the sort of organic approach, but it also has this sort of brutalist boldness, which we also know from the existing station. The roof is a glulam timber system, fully in timber, which can be sort of prefabricated, so it's pretty easy, fairly easy to assemble on site. And then on top you have this lightweight ETFE membrane, which is sort of a plastic-based ETFE material that makes sure that you don't get rain or snow or anything below this roof. And that's a look from above. And of course you have this skylight dome in the middle there, which is quite spectacular. It's also made of ETFE, but then you inflate it so it becomes like a cushion, which means we can have it without any visible structure in it. So you will have an amazing look to the sky through this skylight. Yeah, then we have a little animation we would like to play as the last thing. Thank you. Thank you.